Marcus had been staring at his electricity bill for 10 minutes. The number hadn't changed, but something felt wrong. He just couldn't name it yet. The bill was actually lower than last year. His utility company had even sent a congratulations letter. A small green logo in the corner read, "Clean Energy Transition Partner." Marcus felt vaguely proud. He shouldn't have, because that logo is the beginning of a story most people never get told. And by the time they understand it, the money's already gone. Here is what is actually happening inside your electricity grid right now. Governments across the United States, the United Kingdom, and the European Union have introduced what are being called integrated clean energy transition frameworks. These are multi-layered policy packages combining renewable energy mandates, demand-side response programs, and dynamic retail pricing structures. They sound like progress. In many ways, they genuinely are. But buried inside their architecture is a cost-shifting mechanism that the policy documents describe clearly and the press releases never mention. To understand it, you need to understand how electricity pricing actually works at the infrastructure level. Your utility company does not generate most of its power anymore. It purchases electricity from a wholesale energy market, a real-time auction system where prices fluctuate second by second based on demand. For decades, retail customers like Marcus were shielded from that volatility. You paid a flat rate. Simple, predictable, boring. That model is ending. The new model has been designed around something called time-of-use tariff structures, or TOU pricing. Under TOU pricing, the cost of electricity changes depending on when you use it. Peak hours cost dramatically more. Off-peak hours cost less. The policy argument is that this reduces strain on the grid during high-demand periods. This accelerates the integration of intermittent renewable sources like solar and wind. That argument is technically correct, but here is where the story gets complicated. The subsidies funding the clean energy transition are not coming from thin air. They are being recovered through what regulators call a non-bypassable system benefit charge. Every household in a participating utility district pays this charge. It appears on your bill as a small line item: infrastructure investment levy, renewable portfolio standard recovery charge, grid modernization fee. The names vary by state and country. The mechanism is identical. You are funding the build-out whether you benefit from it or not. Now here is the part that should make you stop and think. Who benefits most from the clean energy transition infrastructure? Large commercial and industrial energy consumers, data centers, manufacturing facilities, logistics companies with electrified vehicle fleets. These entities have the capital to install on-site solar generation and battery storage systems. They can shift their consumption to off-peak windows automatically. They receive the bulk of the corporate renewable energy tax incentives, and they can sell excess electricity back into the grid. Marcus cannot do any of that. He works shifts. He cannot choose when to run his washing machine. His landlord owns the building, so rooftop solar is not his decision. He has no battery storage system in his kitchen. He is not eligible for most of the Commercial-Scale Inflation Reduction Act investment tax credits or their European equivalents. He pays the infrastructure charge on his bill every month, and he receives the smallest share of the structural benefit. Does that feel fair to you? Because this is the question that almost nobody in the policy conversation is asking loudly enough. The first reversal most people encounter is about flat rate pricing. Flat rate pricing was actually a form of consumer protection. It was inefficient from a grid management standpoint. Engineers and economists genuinely had good reasons to dislike it. But its inefficiency was also its equity function. It averaged costs across all consumers and insulated lower-income households from market volatility. Removing it in favor of dynamic pricing is technically superior and structurally regressive at the same time. That is the first reversal most people never see coming. The second reversal is what is happening to the capacity market. As fossil fuel generating plants are retired under decarbonization mandates, grid operators must contract for dispatchable capacity. Dispatchable capacity means power sources that can be switched on reliably, regardless of weather conditions. This includes utility-scale battery storage and demand response aggregation programs. In some systems, this also includes hydrogen peaking plants. These capacity market contracts are expensive. Their costs flow back through the system and land on the retail rate base. You, Marcus, everyone paying a bill. The capacity market costs are real. They are growing, and they are showing up quietly on residential electricity bills across the country. The third reversal is the one that almost nobody talks about. The Corporate renewable energy purchase agreements allow major technology companies to claim they run on 100% renewable energy. But these agreements are structurally dependent on the grid that ordinary consumers fund. A data center buying a power purchase agreement from a wind farm in Texas is not actually running on that specific wind. It is drawing from the same interconnected grid as every other consumer. The wind farm feeds into the grid. The data center draws from the grid. The Renewable Energy Certificate, or REC, is the accounting mechanism that allows the corporate buyer to claim renewable consumption on paper. The grid infrastructure making all of this possible is maintained through charges that fall disproportionately on residential customers. Marcus is helping fund the grid that powers corporate green claims. Marcus got a second letter 3 months later. His utility was moving him to a mandatory time-of-use rate plan. He had 60 days to adjust his household energy habits. The letter was printed on recycled paper. It had a small leaf in the corner. What nobody explained to Marcus was what the new TOU structure actually meant for his life. Under the new TOU structure, his evening hours, when he gets home from work, cooks dinner, does laundry, and charges his phone, are classified as peak demand windows. His electricity costs during those hours would increase by 30 to 40% under the new tariff schedule. His off-peak hours were between 11 at night and 6 in the morning. On weekdays, when he was asleep, the off-peak savings were available during hours Marcus could not use them. The peak cost increases hit him every single evening. The official modeling from the Utility Commission showed average household savings. That modeling was accurate. It averaged across all household types, including flexible commercial accounts reclassified as residential. When researchers at the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy and similar bodies in the UK and Germany disaggregated the data by income level and housing type, the savings distribution was starkly uneven. High-income homeowners with smart thermostats and scheduling flexibility saved meaningfully. Renters and shift workers paid more. The average looked fine. The distribution told a different story. This is not a conspiracy. It is something more uncomfortable than that. It is the predictable outcome of designing a technically sophisticated policy without centering its equity implications at the structural level. The engineers who built TOU pricing were solving a real grid optimization problem. The regulators who approved the system benefit charges were funding a genuinely necessary infrastructure transition. The corporations claiming renewable energy status through REC purchases are operating entirely within the rules as written. Every actor in this system is behaving rationally within their incentive structure. The cumulative result for Marcus is a bill that is quietly, structurally, invisibly higher than it needed to be. Not because anyone broke the rules, because the rules were written this way. If you want to understand your own exposure, there are 3 things worth doing right now. First, look at your current electricity bill and find every line item below the base energy charge. Each one has a name. Search that name alongside your utility company in your state or country's public utility commission. The regulatory filings that justify those charges are public documents. They will tell you exactly which program the charge funds and who the primary beneficiaries are. Most people have never looked. Most people do not know they can. Second, if your utility is transitioning to time-of-use pricing, request a usage analysis based on your actual consumption patterns before accepting a default rate plan. Many utilities are legally required to provide this usage analysis. Most customers never ask. You can request it. It may change which rate plan you are placed on. Third,
Marcus faces a serious rent burden.
Your local housing
The Housing Authority offers assistance. A tenant advocacy group can help. Energy cost protections provide a safety net.
Few tenants know this exists. Fewer still have ever asked about it. The protection is real. The disclosure requirement is real. The awareness gap is also very real. Marcus figured this out on a Sunday afternoon. He spent 4 hours reading utility commission documents on his phone. He was not looking for a conspiracy. He was looking for answers. He found the infrastructure recovery charge. He found the TOU transition schedule. He found the income qualified rate assistance program his utility was legally required to offer. They had never mentioned it in any letter they sent him. Not once. Not in the congratulations letter. Not in the TOU transition notice. Not anywhere. He qualified. He applied. His bill dropped by 18% the following month. 18%. From a program that existed the entire time and was never mentioned. The system is not designed to make that easy to find. That is worth sitting with. not with anger necessarily, but with clarity about what the system actually prioritizes. The uncomfortable truth at the center of all of this is not that clean energy policy is wrong. The transition away from fossil fuels is a necessary and urgent response to climate change. The uncomfortable truth is that the cost of that transition is being distributed in a way that reflects existing economic inequality rather than correcting it. The households with the least flexibility are absorbing the most volatility. The entities with the most capital are capturing the most benefit. And the policy documents that describe this clearly are written in language that almost guarantees only specialists will ever read them. That gap is not accidental. It is structural. The energy transition is real. The progress is real. The hidden redistribution is also real. And the gap between the congratulations letter and the actual bill is where ordinary people like Marcus live. Marcus is not a statistic. He is a person who stared at a bill for 10 minutes and felt something was wrong, but could not name it. Now he can name it. So can you. The question is not whether the transition is happening. It is. The question is who carries the cost while it happens, and whether that distribution was ever honestly explained to you. Most people never look at the line items below the base charge. Most people accept the default rate plan. Most people do not know the assistance programs exist. That is not ignorance. That is design. You now know what Marcus figured out on that Sunday afternoon. You know what the congratulations letter did not say. You know what the TOU transition notice left out. You know that the renewable energy certificate system allows corporations to claim clean energy, while ordinary consumers fund the grid that makes those claims possible. You know that the capacity market costs, the system benefit charges, and the dynamic pricing transitions are all connected. And you know that the distribution of those costs is not neutral. What would you do if you found out your utility
discount program they never told you?
Drop it in the
more
comments,
common
because
than
the
you
answer
think.
might be more common than you think. And if you found something specific on your own electricity bill that never got explained to you, share it below. These details matter, and they deserve more attention than they get.